So what percentage of fathers take paternity leave? The answer is 60%.
You're watching The Right Stuff. Thank you for that. We've got Larry Turner here, Hardeep Singh Kohli and Richard O'Brien. Coming up shortly, Richard's going to take us through the rest of today's headlines. But first, I wonder what the panel make of this. Should dads get 6 months paternity leave? You can email us your thoughts. rightstuff@5.tv is the address. Kirsty will read some out later. Gordon Brown is expected today to confirm his plan to offer dads 6 months off work, half of it paid. At present, fathers can only take 2 weeks off to care for their newborn baby, while mums get a whole year, if they want it, of which about 9 months and a bit is paid. And the PM wants to change that. Mums who go back to work after 6 months can transfer the rest of their maternity leave to their partners, although, as I said, as the men are only going to get 3 months paid, half of that 6 months' time off will be without cash. What do they get paid? It's £123.06 a week. So that's 6p that makes all the difference. But what about the effect on business and the economy? Now, last night, the British Chambers of Commerce said they were shocked that the government was implementing the plan while firms are still struggling with the economic downturn. And with national debt now in the trillions, is this really any time to be messing with parental leave? Two-thirds of employers have said new paternity rights could cause them some or significant difficulties. And it's reckoned that something like 10% of dads will take up the offer, so it's not lots. I mean, what, there are 400,000 dads a year. So, what do we think? Is this going to run the country to rack and ruin, Larry, or is this fairness?
If you ask employers, most of them are against the minimum wage, if you remember. Most of them are against anything that actually tips things even slightly in the favour of the employee, which, you know, it's very hard out there at the moment. And I think, actually, this is quite a good idea. I don't think many men will apply for it, because in the current financial climate, if you're a guy who's actually managed to hold on to his job, are you honestly going to say, I'm off for 6 months? No, you're not going to do that. You're going to keep your bottom on that seat, under your desk, and not allow anybody to cover for your paternity leave. So I don't think fathers are going to take
I suppose, though, we are living in, I mean, I think it's like 1 in 10 families now has a house husband where the dad is at work. Certainly amongst my friends, that's a growing phenomenon. So this could help make things easier in those early stages. I
think that, I mean, I never took any maternity freelance, therefore I've never had any money from the government.
Just pop one out and carry it on top.
Well, it has been like that, yeah. A little bit more traumatic, but yeah, basically. So I'm amazed that you can get all this stuff because I've never had any of it. But I think we have to think about what is the job of an employer. Yes, companies are there to make money, but we're no longer Victorian Britain where they can flog people till they die like a donkey and then I'll get rid of that one and we'll hire another one. They do have to think about people's lives and how they can fit that with their working practices.
What do you think, Hardy? And I'm still thinking about small businesses. They're going to really struggle here.
They get all the money back. They get 100% of the money back from the government. It won't cost them a penny.
I think we have to be careful of hypocrisy in society, and the newspapers are particularly good at this. On one hand, they will complain about absent fathers not making contributions to their kids.
Good point.
And then when there's an initiative that isn't compulsory, isn't mandatory, it is the right to exercise your desire to spend time with your children. And the initial bonds you make with your kids, in a lot of circumstances, are the bonds that you will carry with you for life. And also, what does it say about the nature of a relationship? What does it say about a husband's feeling towards his wife, that he's willing to put work into perspective? And also, I became a father 16 years ago for the first time. And I worked about a third less after my son was born and probably 20% more efficiently. I was having lunch with a friend yesterday talking about business, and she's a mother with 3 young kids. I would rather go into business with a young mother. She will finish work at 3:45, but I guarantee the quality of her work through that day will be much better than, you know, people without kids.
OK. What about you, Richard? Do you think this is, is this true equality?
I think it's silly. I'd hate to be the employer, you know. I'm already with European ruling, we've got people that start a job and have 4 weeks holiday before they've done a year's work. And I think, you know, if you were running a restaurant, you had your waiters that were taking 6 months off and then 4 weeks holiday. I don't see any point in employing these people.
We do seem, I mean, Harriet Harman seems to sort of represent this notion that we are striving for a concept of equality. Which perhaps is out of control.
Out of control? Well, don't
She's
have
obsessed with it.
Yeah, OK, take Harriet Harperson out of this, and of course she's become this huge hate figure, and actually look at people's lives, the people you know their lives, and the struggle when you have small children to try and be there for the children and be at work, and this is trying to address that, which is about how the way real people live. Because you do get to the point where the woman's maternity leaves end, and then you're stuffed. Are you going to pay for a nursery? Because affordable childcare is a joke. How are you actually going to manage to have that child and have a child, unless none of us have any children at all?
Maybe they should divert all the money they're going to pay fathers to stay at home into affordable childcare.
Well, no, but then that's just, OK, well, fathers won't get to see the kids. They'll just farm them out to a nursery.
OK, as I said, you can email us some of your thoughts. Kirsty will read them out later. But after the ads, we're going to look at the rest of today's news, including good news for anyone who falls sick on holiday, and alien sex, how 1 in 5 women are having a truly out-of-this-world time in bed. Find out more after the break. We're back in 3.
So according to today's Sun, which of these courses are being offered to university students this year? The answer is all 3.
Can you imagine doing a double degree? David Beckham studies followed by hairdressing management. That would be worth the 60 grand student debt, wouldn't it? You're watching The Right Stuff. We're live on 5 this Tuesday morning with Richard O'Brien, Larry Turner and Hardeep Kohli. Still to come, free heroin for junkies. A trial scheme has seen crime drop 85% in the areas where they're giving free drugs to junkies. But isn't it society's job to wean these people off their drugs rather than feed their habit? 0207 173 5555. That's the number for your thoughts. But first, what's making headlines, Richard? What have you got for us?
Headlines are The Mirror, a slot bucket for every home. There's a new initiative from this marvellous government of ours.
Free bucket.
We're going to have a free bucket. I don't know what... They don't say what size the bucket's going to be or what it's made from, but apparently...
Or what colour.
Apparently, we've got to put all our perishable food into these things.
Haven't you got one already?
I actually have 4 buckets at home. I have buckets inside of buckets inside of buckets.
Do you use them?
But what are we going to
do
do with it after, once we've filled the bucket?
You put it outside your front door.
And then what do they do with it?
They tip it into the back of a lorry, and then who knows?
Yeah.
You're not a fan of this green initiative?
I really think, I think waste perishable food's really good for the garden. You know, there's no doubt about that. You can use it. If you've got a little garden, you can do it yourself, turn it into something useful. But this is a bad scheme. I mean, in a tower block, you've got every flat on a tower block with a bucket of slop in it. And what are they going to do with it? Once it goes down to the ground floor, then what happens? Where does it go there? It's a nonsense.
It smells and you get horrible flies on it.
Yeah, it's a nonsense. It's a madness.
OK.
Anyway, the next one, the Patrick Swayze story. A lovely man has gone. I didn't get the chance to read him, but he was here last year, wasn't he, doing Guys and Dolls? And I know from the producers of that show that he was very, very ill, and he continued to work on a nightly basis and threw himself into it and never complained. So that's a sadness. God bless him. And the next story is Elton. Is he too old to adopt this child in Ukraine? And I think probably is. But the nice thing is that the child is HIV positive, and I think that Elton should be applauded for not just saying, "Oh, let's have a pretty kid" and whatnot. I think that's a nice idea. Yeah. But he can still be there and looking after this child's life without actually having the child at home. I think probably his lifestyle, working and all the rest of it's probably not a good environment for a small child. I don't know. Perhaps I shouldn't have an opinion on that, but I don't think it's right that he should. He's a little too old, 62. And if he really cares, then he can make some of his money available to make sure the child has a better life.
That's where we were sort of talking about yesterday. Is there's other things you can do? Have you got your microphone?
I'm caught up on this microphone. Oh my God!
We've never had this happen before.
No, it's all right.
Oh, no, we're free. We're free. Okay. And I'm loving the necklace, by the way. Just sort of
Thank you.
That. Loving that.
Yeah, horses for courses.
Okay,
this is the degrees that you chaps are kind of going for as well. And apparently you can get a degree in horse psychology, whatever that is. Good luck. And hairdressing management, which is odd, isn't it? Not hairdressing, but hairdressing management.
Which you would have thought would be the same as managing any small business.
I would have thought.
I mean, it's just, it's bizarre.
I really think that universities should... I think it was a mistake not having Latin as a requirement for university membership. I think
or intelligence as a requirement.
It's just true. It's true.
It's
absolutely right.
They must, as they come up with these courses, does anybody think this is going to end up in the Daily Mail, or do they think, no, this is a really vital part of the nation's education?
It's also this government's way of keeping people at school so that they don't go onto the unemployment list. You see, as long as people are still at school, you see, they're not unemployed.
But these are actually vocational, and presumably, if you study horse psychology, you go on to be a horse psychologist. If you study history, then people would say, well, you're not training for anything.
I want to see the couch the horse lies down on. So perhaps there should be an ancillary course called Big Couch Making.
Yeah. Oversized furniture.
I've just created a degree.
A postgraduate course. You could do it after graduating, like a BA or an MA. BA, bah.
But I do think, I think the thing about kind of hairdressing management, to manage a hairdressing salon, you really need to be a cut above the rest. So.
Oh, cheese.
Like I said.
Cheese. Richard, thank you. What have you got, Larry?
Oh, this is the really sad story that